Welcome to the Constitutional Patriots radio show with your hosts Johnny and Chuck. Johnny, go ahead and take over.
And we're taking their legs out on them right here, guys.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, Pete, let us know when you're ready.
Okay, everybody be quiet now. Start recording.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special show tonight. This is going to be one different than we normally do, but there's reasons why. We have several guests tonight that are going to bring up it's having to do with the Bundy situation, having to do with out at with Lavoy. I'm going to let these folks that are directly involved and have been involved, boots on the ground. First, I want to introduce Tom. Now, we have him via telephone. So, what I'd like for you to do, Tom, is explain what's been going on up there in Burns when they tried to burn everything and the situation. Basically, background on them so they have people that don't know, which not many do. There's not many that don't. So they know what the whole situation is. And let's see what we can do. Okay, okay, Tom?
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, can you folks hear him okay?
Copy, great.
Yes. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Hi, folks. I'm Tom Davis out of Harney County, Oregon. I live out in Riley, about 45 miles from the refuge. I was active in the refuge stuff, was down there several times, met with Lavoy and Ammon. I was one of the two ranchers that signed the no beyond or federal government allotment papers. And that back in the 24th, and had a real good visit with Lavoy and Ammon at the headquarters of the refuge, which we prefer to call stolen land from the Harney County residents by the federal government. You set up that they say it's public land, but they've got signs posted that no unauthorized entry into their refuge, which means it's not public land. It is federal land, federally controlled, and you're not allowed on there unless you have permission from the federal agencies, Fish and Game, U.S. Fish and Game. So that's a big point. Everybody thinks it's public land, but it's not. It's not public land. The allotment holders have been dropped. There's a lot of that land set up for a major fire. A lot of this land in Harney County set up for major fires due to eco-terrorist lawsuits and eco-terrorists in our fish game, our U.S. Forest Service, or BLM. These agencies have set it up to control the land and keep the people off the land. They're closing roads left and right, which is a violation of the Disability Act. They're keeping people with disabilities from entering the public lands by closing these roads and setting up a UN-controlled area where they will eventually come in and mine all the minerals out of our land. And we have nothing to do about it. So we're sitting here just trying to get the Constitution back in Harney County. As you all know, we have Sheriff Dave Ward, unconstitutional sheriff, that the FBI and other agencies take over control of Harney County. We had 300 FBI agents came to Harney County started in October of 15 all the way through 16. And they came here and they had other law enforcement agencies from Morgan State Police to Fish and Game to BLM to some Forest Service, law enforcement, and we had sheriffs from all over the county with their deputies from the county, from the state, and other states to us. So we were, probably 700 law enforcement agencies here, people with these agencies. And the boy was shot on January 26th, 2016, on his way to Grant County from Harney County up 395, excuse me. They took him with an illegal roadblock, which was justified as an illegal roadblock, a dead man roadblock by the Supreme Court, not allowed in the United States. That is one that in the trial they're not mentioning that it was an illegal roadblock. We had sheriffs, OSP shoot him in the back. We had an FBI agent shot one shell at the vehicle to scare the boy off the step and off the vehicle. We had another shot fired, and the location of the shot, I know where that bullet lies, and shot over the head of the OSP to get them to start shooting at the boy. There was other shots fired at the boy to make him reach like he was reaching for a gun. And that at his side, anytime you get hit by a beanbag, I don't know if it was a beanbag or what type of foam bullet, they shot at him, but he reached because of that pain, natural reaction. But he had his hands in the air, he was surrendering. They shot him in the back, cowards. Back in last spring, not last spring, it was last summer, we had a fire up there at the shooting site. When was that? It was July of last year, last part of July, first part of August. They had a fire up there. They were looking for brass casings. It was a controlled fire on the area. They burned it, and you can see there were the foot tracks was all over the ground as they were searching. And I believe they were searching for casings. They were missing some casings. And that's a big point being brought up in the trial of the casings. There was a lot of illegality performed by the OSP and the federal government, FBI. And so we're here trying to bring the Constitution back to our county. And that's step 1 too.
Okay, Tom. Now, I know you were friends with Lavoie. I know you were there. You know exactly everything that happened. Now, with his trial going on right now, we couldn't get the lady on today. But I understand you talked to her. She is being threatened. I guess they've threatened to kill her and burn her house down. Can you fill us in on that? Because we want her name out there, so if anything happens, the American people know about it.
Okay, it's Carol Williams, and I talked to her and her husband both today. She's been receiving phone calls. She's taken to law enforcement. She's made a history of it. She's posted on Facebook, so there is a trail of this here threats going on. People threatening to burn her house down and kill her and various other things. Kind of scared. I've offered them refuge down my place if they need to get away and be safe, so they can down here. Last thing I am is afraid of these people. They're cowards. Anybody that shoots a man in the back is as a coward.
Okay, and can you tell them why they're trying to do this?
They're trying to shut her down, quiet her up.
Now this gal.
Overpass. She's put signs up on overpasses, that type of stuff. Overpass USA. She's very active, very vocal.
And
she's been at the trial, and when she started going to the trial, now they're trying to get her out of there and shut her down.
Yeah, they don't want her. They don't want her at the trial, and she's been at the trial.
What do they have? What do they have on that land?
This whole thing, Mike, is over. She has been monitoring the trial, and now all of a sudden she's getting death threats and her family, and they're threatening to burn her out.
But the trial over what?
On the federal officer that shot Lavoie.
The federal officer that shot 2 rounds, that's unaccounted for, and he lied about it. He concealed evidence.
What are they doing now?
Wait a minute, Mike. Let him finish. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tom.
And but he's under trial right now for perjury, lying, and trying to cover things up.
And this is the Oregon federal courts in Portland?
Yes. And anybody familiar with Portland knows it's the home of Antifa, anti-Trump, anti-Constitution. Portland is a very strange place. Not like San Francisco, just a dirty, gnarly, nasty place.
Okay. And is there anything else you can tell us, Tom?
Well, I know the threats and all that. I was at a counter one phone number and get another one because of the threats and people trying to all sorts of bullshit phone calls late night and weird phone calls.
Okay.
And this weird stuff that people do. My phone would shut off and turn on. My camera would turn on. This control of my phone, so I had to get rid of that phone and get a different number to kind of go conspicuous.
Okay. Now, you said the United Nations still actually got control of their Burns, Oregon?
The Mulher refuges became the crown jewel of the UN. The UN, if you look at Agenda 21, Agenda 30 and 31, you'll see that they want to make a wilderness corridor of no human from Mexico through Canada into Alaska. And they want all the people to live in little box houses in a city area, compound. And it's to come out and work the land and go back. Basically slavery.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, hang on a minute, Tom. Hang on. Mike's got a question.
Yes, Mike.
What do they do down there shooting people up in the first place, and why are the feds shooting somebody in the back in the first place?
It came from orders from Valerie Jarrett, Loretta Lynch, and our great governor, Socialist Kate Brown.
I'm smiling.
Hey, Mike, let him finish.
The people are starting to wake up to avoid what he has to say the truth. And it was against the corruption of within the federal government, so they wanted to shut it down. And the voice was a spokesman for the people that was at the refuge against the corruption. The thing is that if it wasn't for Shona Cox and the other 18-year-old girl, Victoria Sharp, being in the vehicle, and they wanted to kill everybody. Mark McConnell was the FBI informant that had the whole thing set up to deliver the goats to the slaughter. And he was driving Ammon. The second vehicle, the green Jeep, was Mark McConnell's rig. And he was in a hurry and a rush to get them up there at a certain time, at a certain place. And he didn't want the women to go. Because they came into Harney County and their actions. We'd have protests down in the courthouse and at the airport. You'd have snipers sitting there with weapons pointed at you to kill you. And you could see the red dots running across your body. The so-called militia, they keep calling, which wasn't militia, it was just a bunch of Americans that disagreed with the government overreach and wanted to free the Hammonds out of the corruption that was hitting the Hammonds all the time. And they brought in the military force and made martial law in Harney County to control us. Why? Because now it's come out as a fact that the richest, highest grade uranium in the United States is on the Steam Mountains and the Hammond Ranch. Britting, FBI Director Britting, that was in command of this whole thing, is now working for a uranium transport company 2 years after the fact of the whole incident. He's working for the transportation company of uranium.
I was right. I'm right. Mining uranium.
Okay, hang on a minute.
Back in 2011, they had a company come here and start looking this whole country over. You remember, Steam Mountain became a national monument. National monument is just a disguised word for a federally controlled area. And they all these national monuments, they're trying to make Glass Mountain a national monument because of the mercury and the uranium.
I knew it.
They use national monuments to set up for ownership of the federal government so they can remove all people from the land, control the land, and sell off the minerals on the properties.
Okay. Hey, Mike, let him finish. I don't want anybody to interrupt until he is done, because we've got we've got the follow-ups on all of this too. And I know it's hard to bite your tongue, but especially when as into this as you are, Mike. Now, let me explain something real quick, Tom. Mike has his own show that he's going to cover this also. But here's what the situation is. Mike is very passionate, and it's hard for him to bite his tongue because he hates this.
Mike, feel free. I agree 100% with you. This whole even involvement from the United States people has been going on so long. We are so far in depth on the theme. Look at this last false president we had, the Kenyan. He got us over $11 trillion in debt. They're out to destroy the United States and own our land and steal the wealth from underneath our land. And they're using these eco-terrorists like Honda, Oregon Natural Desert Association, Biodiversity, Sierra Club, Friends of All Here, Friends of this, Friends of that. They use these groups with UN monies and federal money to start stealing land with endangered species. They come out here on this desert and they count so-called sage grouse, but they won't count the sage grouse in the farmers' fields that's hanging around these irrigated pastures, hanging around these meadows. They don't count those as sage grouse. The same thing they did with spotted owls. They counted the spotted owls that go out and do it at night, see how many birds talk back to them, and I gave them their number. My ex-father-in-law had 2 pairs that was sitting in his barn, and they said, "Oh, they're not spotted owls." He said, "They're the same creatures you guys are hooting about." And that is to steal our natural resources. Our natural resources are worth trillions of dollars. And it enriches the elitist globalist bankers, the New World Order. The UN is the New World Order. They want complete control. And the greatest country in the world, they're out to destroy the United States. Once they destroy the United States, they destroy the rest of the world.
Well, they're going to have a hard time destroying the United States when we got as many patriots and true Americans as we have.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
This uranium situation is a really bad deal. It's worse than we thought. They're selling that stuff and paying off their crooked debts to the Chinese and Russia, and their human trafficking is going on in Arizona, and we got to stop it, or they're going to use that stuff on us.
It's not just Arizona, but that's another subject. We got a lot to cover, so go ahead, Tom.
That's all I got is we've got to stand. If we want this country to win and succeed, we've got to stand. If not, let's be a little bunch of sheep and let the Judas goats lead us to slaughter.
Well, you're a part of us.
Why did they create 30,000 guillotines under Obama and train people to handle guillotines? Why do they create FEMA camps? Why do they transport millions of plastic coffins to these FEMA camps?
Getting ready for us.
And Trump threw a wrench in that whole thing.
Yep. Yeah, that's why they hate Trump so much.
Yep.
We are the.
So here's what it amounts to is, I've known Tom now for what, about a year and a half since you joined us, Tom. Tom.
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah, and Tom has kept me informed on a lot of things that's going on, and now we can reach out through our radio to the American people Actually, we are literally. I found out we are being listened to in 13 countries as well as the United States, and we're reaching a lot of people. And that's why we need to stand together, pull the people together in unity, so we can stop this from happening. We can't do it alone. It takes numbers and it takes the unity.
Yes.
Now, I'm gonna have from here. Go ahead.
We all one people.
That's exactly it. It doesn't matter what color you are. It's a fact. It's a fact that if you're an American and you believe in our Constitution and you stand up for the American people in the American way.
Yep, exactly.
Now, I'm gonna keep you on, Chuck, I'm sorry, Tom, because I'd like for you to hear with the rest of what we're also covering, the follow-up of the arrests, everything of the Lavoys, the people that are in jail right now, should not be there, that were set up. We're gonna cover all of this here. So, Patriot Girl, you want to take it from here, and then Tal can take in on the people that are in jail that shouldn't be, that we need to figure out how we can help them get out.
Okay, well, we've got several political prisoners, and Tal's got their names, sitting in prison from crooked judges, crooked prosecutors. It's been proven that they're crooked. That's why the Bundy trial ended. And these guys are sitting in jail when everybody else was found innocent, and they're sitting in prison under the same charges that these men were found innocent. Why are they still in jail? We need those questions.
Go ahead, Patriot Cowgirl.
Her audio went out.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know where my audio left off at, but I do know these gentlemen are sitting in prison when the rest of the guys were found innocent. They're harboring the same charges. Why are they still there? The prosecutors were proven to be withholding evidence from these guys, and I know Tal can reiterate on this more. The prosecutors were withholding evidence that showed the innocence of these men, and Judge Navarro finally looked at the evidence after weeks and weeks of begging her to look at this evidence, and she had no choice but to throw it out of court and say, release these men now. Well, why are the rest of them sitting there? They're just as innocent as the rest, and they're sitting in prison still. We've got a guy from the Malheur, Dwayne Emmer, who is sitting in prison. He dug a little foxhole out there to protect themselves from the FBI, the UN, whoever was out there with their weapons dialed in on these people, and he dug a foxhole for them to get in to save themselves because they were scared. He's sitting in prison for that, and they gave him a year and a day, which makes him a felon. He served our country. He was out there basically on his horse, riding around on his horse, holding the American flag in support of what these gentlemen were doing. He wasn't a part of a militia. He was just a man who was standing for what is right, and he's now sitting in prison for a year and a day, and he doesn't need to be there. There's several of them, and like I said, Tal can reiterate on this more, so I'm going to hand it off to him because he's got tons of information that he can get out to you guys, and so yeah, take it, Tal.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say hello to my friend Tom. Tom knows who I am. He's been on my show several times.
No audio.
Himself. You can hear me?
I can hear him.
Okay. Well, Tom's been on my own radio show a few times when all this took place. I'd like to start out, first of all, the order for Mr. Lavoie's assassination came directly from National Command Authority, which means it came directly from the office of the President of the United States of America. Um, it came straight from him. Um, that was according to one of the Oregon State police officers who was interviewed immediately after the assassination of Mr. Lavoie Finicum. Kate Brown, quite a few people involved there. The Oregon State Safety, I can't remember what her title was officially. Senator Ron Wyden even called them the virus because they were teaching the Constitution, which is what they were on their way to do when the assault against him took place. And I have to make a correction on a statement that was made earlier about a bullet going through the roof. It was actually several shots hit the vehicle. One went through the roof, and there is a bullet lodged in Ryan Bundy's shoulder to this very day. And that is probably the one that came from Mr. Astorita, who is on trial right now. And yes, to reiterate what Tom was saying about uranium, this is Hillary Clinton's deal. Uranium, they were going to get their yellow cake uranium to sell to Russia from. And that's why the whole thing started. That's why the Hammonds were put into prison in the first place. That's why tens of thousands of us patriots have reached out to President Donald Trump and got them, and you guys helped, of course, my understanding, to get them freed and pardoned. Going back to December 24th, 2016, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the ex post facto law, but it's a law that makes illegal an act that was legal when committed. It increases penalties for an infraction after it's been committed, or changes the rules of evidence to make conviction easier. That is exactly what Anna Brown did. She had the testimony of 4 witnesses struck from the record of the last trial in Oregon as well. Then turned around on January 6, 2017, she stated in open court that the remaining defendants did not have a right to a jury trial, which is in violation of their Sixth Amendment right. She said specifically that she, and only she, would decide if they're innocent or guilty, but she had already made up her mind that they were guilty even before the trial began. She deprived peaceful protesters, excuse me, of their right to a fair trial, due process, liberty, and impartial jury, the right to be confronted with witnesses against him by hiding the identities of informants whose false evidence was used against him. They were denied their right to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in their favor, to have a common law trial by jury, the right to bail, the right to be protected from cruel and unusual punishment, like Aaron and Ryan Bundy were held in solitary confinement, chained to a bench for 24 and 18 hours, respectively. Ryan was fed a single piece of stale bread, and there were many other examples of their cruel and unusual punishments. And she even did not allow the Constitution to be brought up at all in her courtroom. Like I said, she denied the last four defendants the right to a jury trial after she held an interview with the jurors in the first trial, who told her that they would have found them guilty of trespassing and convicted the remaining defendants based on the jury's comments. She violated every single one of them's First, Fifth, Sixth, Seventh, and Eighth Amendment rights, completely siding with the prosecution and predetermining their guilt before. She heard the first argument. She has family members, by the way, that work for the Bureau of Land Management. She holds a financial stake in the Hammond land, which is what the people were on trial to protest to begin with. And she even knowingly allowed a biased juror to sit on the jury until he was outed and ousted. Classic example here of tyranny and treason, folks. And then we got Gloria Navarro down in Nevada. She did basically everything that Anna Brown did, but she took it further. She allowed the trial to continue despite the fact that she authorized an informant to actually sit on the defense strategy plan for the court case. It's supposed to be attorney-client privileged information, but she authorized it anyway, knowingly. She also told one defendant, Todd Engel, that he only had 3 rights in her courtroom. One of which was to plead guilty, another was to appeal, and the third one was to testify. Todd Engel was acting as his own attorney and doing very well until he brought up the fact that the government's star witness, Daniel P. Love, is under criminal investigation himself. Uh, she forbade him from speaking for the remainder of the trial for exposing what the prosecution and herself wanted to keep to the jury, which is the truth. They've done all these things, and it's like Monica said earlier, they withheld exculpatory evidence from our innocent political prisoners, and there was immense pressure put on Jeff Sessions, which ultimately trickled down to her for her to start acting reasonable and fair, which led to basically her throwing the court case out after they found several Brady violations were committed. And she knew it the whole time, but the pressure was put on her to do the right thing. However, after they threw that court case out, the people that took plea deals and the people that were previously found guilty were still sentenced to prison. Gregory Burleson was sentenced to 68 years in prison. Todd Engel himself was recently, just a couple of weeks ago, sentenced to 15 years in prison. I would like to name off all the names of the people that were arrested if I can. There's 41 names here. Some of these have been released, some have been acquitted, some had their charges dropped, and others took plea deals. And a couple of these, I'm not going to name names at the moment, but they were outed as rats, in other words, informants. Sean Anderson, Shira Barbeau, Ammon Bundy, Cliven Bundy, Dave Bundy, Mel Bundy, Ryan Bundy, Gregory Burleson, Brian Cavalier, Blaine Cooper, Travis Cox, Gerald DeLemus, Oval, Scott Drexler, Todd Engel, David Fry. Of course, we know about Dwight and Stephen Hammond. Thank God they were released and pardoned. Corey LeCue, Ricky Loveland, Micah McGuire, Kenneth Medenbach, Joseph O'Shaughnessy, Eric Parker, Jason Patrick, Ryan Payne, Jake Ryan, Peter Santilli, Stephen Stewart, Daryl Thorne, Jason Woods, Dylan Anderson, Sandy Anderson, Jeff Banta, Jason Blomgren, Shauna Cox, Dwayne Emer, Eric Flores, Wesley Kajar, John Ritzheimer, Jeffrey Stanek, and Neil Wampler. And of course, we all know about Robert Lavoy Fennekin. I'd like to throw out the names of some of these judges and prosecutors if I could as well. Shraki was the name of the prosecutor in Schaefer Cox's case. Ethan Knight was the prosecutor in the Oregon case. We have Bill Keebler as well. I'm sorry, I did not name his name. He was set up for supposedly making a bomb, which he was set up strictly because he supported our political prisoners. The judge who sentenced him, his name was Judge David Sams. Got a lot of stuff going on. The prosecutor in Bill Keebler's case, his name was Chute, Chute. Now, these are all criminals that are using the cover of our justice system to go after innocent people just because they think that they have the power to do it. And they forget that they work for us instead. It's funny, if you look it up, though, if you look up the name of the prosecutor in the Oregon case, they have changed the name of the prosecutor. Look it up online. It's supposed to be Ethan Knight, but now they have got somebody named Billy Williams, who's the prosecutor. That was not true. Ethan Knight was the prosecutor in that case. But you can go and look anywhere online and you'll find Billy Williams pop up left and right. I did reporting on this every week. Tom was on our show right after the shooting of the boy and the arrest of our people. And he used to come on and give us updates. He knew about the event we were trying to organize out there to try to benefit our people for their court cases and hopefully get them out. But that kind of went down the tube because we had some people, bad people that got involved and did not want to do what they were supposed to do. But these people are innocent. They set them up from the very beginning. In the Bundy case down in Nevada, they were monitoring them for months before they ever made a move on them. They in the weeks leading up to it, they had set up cameras everywhere. They were spying on them. They had cameras set up toward their house. They were trying their best to make sure that they had everything in place. They even sent the prosecutor out there to talk to FBI agents discussing the strategy. Now, if this wasn't a setup from the very beginning, I don't know what it was. But this has been big, excuse me, and it's tyranny. They set these innocent people up to fall because they wanted their land. And as far as what happened with the Bundy Ranch, the Democrats have run every single other ranching family out of that area for their minerals. Harry Reid, in particular, his son Rory wanted to complete a deal with the Chinese for a solar farm, a multi-billion-dollar deal. That's billion with a B, for a solar farm right there. And he came up with, first it was a desert tortoise. So the cows are interfering with the desert tortoise when they actually thrive off of cow manure. And then turn around, it was some Joshua tree. And while they were sitting in jail awaiting trial, he went to the Congress, and this was on C-SPAN, and they tried to scrub it from the internet, and every time it gets put up there, it gets scrubbed again, but I think it's up there right now on YouTube. Harry Reid was addressing Congress, asking Obama to take their land. Now that the Bundy boys are in jail, now that was his plan from the very beginning. The judges in the case up in Oregon, guess who appointed him? Hillary Clinton. The judge that down in Bunkerville, guess who appointed him? Take a wild guess. Someone connected to Harry Reid. These things have been planned for years, folks. And Tom is absolutely right when he was speaking about Agenda 21 2030. Their plan is to move everybody out of the rural areas and into cities, walkable cities. They want to eliminate cars and make walkable cities, just so they can fill the rural areas with large carnivores that will eat people, to make them afraid to go out into the rural areas. It's all about domination. This is one world order, the New World Order, and we have President George H.W. Bush to thank for that, since he signed our country away to the UN back in the early 1990s. And I'm sure you can go up there and look on the internet and watch his little speech glorifying how good it was going to be that we were now under the New World Order. Folks, this has been planned from the beginning. This has been planned for decades, and that's why they assassinated John F. Kennedy, because he threatened to expose them. 7 days after he made the threat to expose him, he was shot dead in Dallas, Texas. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm pretty sure I've ranted raved long enough, but these are facts, folks. They're documented facts.
Well, I'll tell you what, this information, we need it, and there's a gentleman listening that knows who I'm directing this to. We need to get this information directly to President Trump. Pete, I don't usually bring you in on this stuff, but you're the man that has the power. You need to get this information, actually, because I do know we are being monitored from high places with permission, and that's how we're able to get a lot of things done. So, Pete, can you get this information to President Trump immediately so we can start working on getting these guys out of jail? Let him know what's going on, and if you can possibly even send him a copy of this program tonight if he isn't listening.
Well, I want to add one more thing to that request, if you don't mind. I don't mean to interrupt you, but the people that took plea deals, they need to be pardoned too, because they were threatened with many years in prison if they didn't take a plea deal, and yet now here they are. They've got felonies on their records. They can never exercise their right, which is a right that we shouldn't have taken from us anyway, but to keep and bear arms.
Well, according to the Constitution, the true Constitution, once you have served your time, as long as you have not served a capital crime, you are by law allowed to have weapons. And Montana is one of the states that go by that.
But that law that they signed, the federal law that took away the right forever, any felony, even if you're nonviolent, that's an illegal, unlawful, and unconstitutional law. And it was backed by the Democrats thanks to Mr. President Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Yep. It's no longer common law. It's now admiralty law to see.
Well,
British Accredited Registration, the Bar Association. Let me put this out there. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But why are we operating under British law instead of operating under the constitutional law like we're supposed to?
Well, here's my answer. Here's my answer, Tal. We may be operating under that, but it's up to the patriots and the Americans that were born in this country or that live here legally to unite together and start true rallies. I've never seen a rally work, but we need to be able to rally and push the democratic laws that are against the Constitution, force them to be changed. That's the only way we can do it, but we can't do it alone. We have to unite, pull together, work together, and set a goal, and on each one of those goals, reach that goal, then go to the next. We can't do them all at once.
Well, considering they like to put in provocateurs within our community, it makes it very difficult to unite. And I'm not going to go into naming names, but there are some people that started out as being awesome patriots, and then next thing you know, they turn their back on you and they're tearing everybody down. The people that have given the most to the community, they're being torn down because of these provocateurs, and it's their mission in life.
First thing we got to do to be able to organize is stop all the interfighting between the patriots and the militias, have everybody pull together, be on the same wavelength, and have the same goals, which we all do. I should say there are groups out there that I don't agree with. I don't believe in racism. I believe that every man that is born in America is an American, and they all have the same constitutional rights, and they all bleed red blood. I'm a veteran. I fought for this country. My son died for this country. And you know what? We all have people we know that did that. Well, we got to stand up just for them too, but we got to stand up for our rights to make sure we don't lose them.
That's right. And we also have to do something about these lifetime appointed federal judges that legislate. You know, I have one more question that needs to be addressed, and this needs to be addressed by the president himself.
My volume went off.
Your volume is down, Tal.
Okay. Well, I have a question as to why. Can you hear me any better now?
Yeah.
Okay. This needs to be addressed by President Trump too, publicly, if he can. Getting rid of activist judges that legislate from the bench, and making certain that it's well known that the government cannot be victim, prosecutor, and judge all at the same time. They cannot. It's impossible to get a fair trial that way at all. If they're going to, like, these were supposedly crimes against the government. The government can't possibly be the victim. Why? Because we, the people, consist of the government. And yet they're claiming that they're the victim. Now you're a refuge. Oh, we're the victims. We're the federal government. We're the victims behind. No, you're not. You're overreaching your authority, and the people have the rightful authority. And I'm glad President Trump said he's giving the power where it belongs, back to where it belongs, and that's to the people. That's one reason I voted for him.
Well, and you know, you're totally right, Hal. Here's what a lot of American people don't know. One, your BLM is illegal in this country.
Yep, it's
The
unconstitutional.
United Nations is illegal in this country.
Yep.
The Forest Service is illegal in this country.
Yep.
The Constitution states that the government cannot own any land more than 10 acres unless it is used for military purposes.
It's actually post offices, arsenals, forts, and it's 10 miles square. So it's a little more than 10 acres.
I meant 10 miles. I'm sorry. I apologize. I meant 10 miles.
Yes, but post offices, arsenals, forts, any other needful building, which does not constitute a bird refuge office. Sorry, it does not constitute an FBI for that matter, because the FBI is also an unconstitutional ABC agency.
That is very true. So, Tom, do you have anything you want to add in this you may have thought of?
Yeah, I was listening to Paul on that. It was quite an interesting time we had back then. The thing I want to emphasize is that when the M. Bundy and LaVoy and everybody came here, we were not assaulted by those people. They did not come and occupy our county. They were open. You could go in there. Anybody could go down to the refuge and visit with them and learn what they were there about, what they were talking about. The ones that came here and occupied Harney County was a bet. They took over one of our schools, the middle school, up by the courthouse. They took over our courthouse. To go to our courthouse, you had to go through a metal detector and search system. You could not just walk in like usually. They had roadblocks around the school. They had chain link fence. They had guards monitoring you with weapons as you walked past the courthouse. Snipers sitting up in the school out the window with weapons pointed at you. You go to the airport, they had the airport blocked off. They had road guards there. They had blocks barricading the roads. You couldn't just go in the airport. The only occupation that we had from people that was dangerous was the federal government under the Obama administration, the illegal Obama administration. They came here to force their will upon the people of the United States. And the thing that was so amazing is how many American people were like sheep and agreed with it, accepted it. That was part of life. Here in Orange County, they had a party the night Willie was buried, the day of his funeral. They had a law enforcement appreciation party. If you've seen the video, you had Sheriff Ward and the other sheriffs all up there grinding the hips against each other's asses like they were hookers up there with a pole, dancing in front of everybody, and everybody cheering them on, drunk, drinking and driving that night. I bet you nobody got a minor position. There was kids running around drinking. It was just kind of odd to see Harney County, how the animals came to Harney County. The FBI was pulling in front of the stores and would pull out their dick and pee in front of customers. Up at the bus stops, up in town, they'd pull up at the bus stop and just step out and take a piss in front of the children. They were dressed like the militia, trying to pretend to be the militia, but they were driving the SUVs of the feds. You knew what they were feds because you looked at their vehicles. It was just amazing the pretense of lies from the federal government to perpetrate with the Mockingbird media to run wild and spread lies and propaganda about a peaceful organization that was trying to get the Constitution brought back into our nation. And that's what's really sad is how many American people are so gullible to believe the socialist tactics of the fascist Nazi regimes of Obama. And it's just weird. I've never seen such display of cowardice as I did in Harney County.
You know, I'm from Oregon, and I remember growing up in Oregon where we actually, everybody stood together. Of course, I grew up in a logging community, and I remember how everybody pulled together, and if something was wrong, they didn't let it happen.
Yep. But
that was before Oregon became an Obama Democratic state.
Yep. Californians move up this. It's the same way in British Columbia. British Columbia, Canada is the same way. The Californians migrated, and once they migrate, they bring their socialist policies with them. And then the first thing they do, they start getting into positions of power in the government.
Well,
there's got a change going on, and then bam,
you know,
state now.
I don't want to offend any of our listeners, but the bottom line is this: if you don't like our country, get the hell out. Go to a country you think is free, live there, and then see what happens. I don't. We had somebody the other day, and he actually came back after he did some research and apologized. And he come right out, and he said that we were the United Conscious Patriot Group was paid for by Soros, and I come all unglued. And he apologized after he did research and retracted what he said. But that's because of somebody starting something saying that we were fake news, and he was going off of what they were saying. And now that same person said we're fake news has been begging me to let him back into the organization on our radio and everything else, and I will not do it because he created problems that we have never had. We are all patriots. I'm a veteran. Most of our people are veterans. And you know what? We stand together. We stand united. We stand for the American way and the American flag and the Constitution and Bill of Rights.
He's a saboteur.
So, you know, I didn't mean to. I get really teed off. I'll put it that way. When you know, the American people are letting people walk on them because they're afraid to. Well, you know that. Well, they'll throw me in jail. No, they won't throw you in jail. The ones that's going to be going to jail, Antifa, and I'm all for it. Trump is probably going to be doing an executive order shortly on Antifa. I have several posts on it to where Antifa carries 15 years.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
No ands, ifs, or buts about it. And if they kill somebody, it's a death penalty.
Yeah. You know what gets me about that whole organization? It's a bunch of college kids. What the hell are we teaching our kids in colleges? Is this something that we want our tax dollars to be supporting? These universities and colleges that promote socialism and communism? Look at, we had Bernie Sanders, a true devout communist, running for the presidency.
Yeah, but see, here's the problem, Tom. Our schools for the last 25 years has been teaching communism.
Yep.
These kids can't even read. They don't know how they can't write and curse it. They can't. You know, you ask them who President Johnson was, they don't know. But ask them who the Kardashians are, and boy, they know everything.
Yep.
Let's not forget that we had CIA director that was a member of the Communist Party and voted for a communist back in the 70s for president. John Brennan.
Well, yep. Well, see, that's bringing up another subject that we're going to cover tonight too. and all of this is what's brought on all the pedophilia. Now, he is draining the swamp. There are people being arrested right and left, and it's coming from the highest levels that are being arrested. They've got over 10,000 warrants right now, and they're not being advertised when they're being arrested because they don't want the people to be warned. They don't want people to know what's going on because the ones that are being arrested, Antifa and all of them back them. It'll put them out in the streets. It'll have them out there rioting and fighting. And they're trying to avoid all that. They're not going to tell you what's going on. That's going to be kept in the dark until it's after it's done. Then it will all come out. President is making America great again. Actually, he already has. I think that Trump is the greatest president we have ever had. And I'm saying that out sincere. The left, they're going to do everything they can to stop him and fight him. You know what? Let him keep trying because he has an agenda. And he's going to meet his agenda. And they're not going to succeed in assassinating him like they think they are.
Yeah. You know what's really odd is I grew up in Canada. I was born in the United States but grew up in Canada. We learned more about the U.S. Constitution and the history of the United States and the Bill of Rights of the United States than the students down here in the United States ever learned. When I moved down in grade 12, they threw me in history class, U.S. and Oregon history, and they removed me from that class in 2 weeks because I knew everything that they were trying to teach, and I was telling them where they were wrong.
Yeah.
Because I was going against that garbage that they were trying to fill these stupid kids' heads with.
Well, and they did a good job of it because look at what we've got. Folks, the people, we got to look at our kids. You know, today, I'm not going to, I won't get into all of it, some of the news feeds we got. We just had a judge sentenced 20 years that was selling kids for pedophile reasons. Yep. We just had another person that was arrested in a high government sting of where the courts were taking the kids away and putting them in foster homes for pedophile reasons. The reports are on our, we will have them posted. They're still posted in our war room, but I will have Chuck post them into our newsroom so you folks can come to the United Constitutional Patriot room and you can actually read the reports we get. This is what is not being covered by the mainstream media. The mainstream media doesn't want it out there. One guy asked, why is it we have the information and has been vetted, and he wasn't doubting what we're doing, says, why does he have to hear it on YouTube to find out the truth? Well, I guess that's what we're for. We were blessed enough to get this radio show, and I swore that I would not put any fake information out there. Our information is vetted and comes from the reliable sources. And I imagine sooner or later somebody's going to try to shut us down, but we're not going to let them do it.
Yep.
Well, yeah, we have the goals there, but it isn't just Walmart. There's Kmart. There's a bunch of them. They're all in bed with the left. They're all being paid, and it's going to continue until we do something as patriots about it. And we cannot do it by ourselves. We have to unite, do it together, like I said earlier, to where we're all working together for the same cause. Take one bite of that apple at a time, folks. That's the only way it'll work. You start on the outside and work your way in.
Mm-hmm.
So, have we got anything else we want to cover tonight? I do want to cover the Fires Patriot Cowgirl. you want to cover the fires of what's going on up there? Because, like I said, Oregon is my home country. I love the country, but I don't like the government up there.
Yeah, the town of Grants Pass, part of it was evacuated. It's moving down into the Rogue River area. There's new ones that started today, and I'm not 100% sure where those new ones are, or started this week. I'm sorry. The state is basically burning up, but California is actually worse off than we are. That fire that swept through Redding, they're calling it the car fire. It took several lives, 6, I do believe. It's over 100,000 acres. Pretty bizarre how it burnt through there. You know, I've been around firefighters my entire life. My father was a firefighter. My son is a firefighter. I've never seen forest fires like this ever, that I can remember. And it's strange how it skips through things. It's strange how it burns these animals while they're in motion running and their fur's still on them, but they're dead. It's strange how a vehicle will be melted in the street, metal running down the street, yet the trees around that vehicle are still green.
Sounds like a laser attack.
That's exactly, and we do have pictures that we will post where you can actually see the laser. I was waiting for that to come out. Now, I know forest fires very well. I was raised in Oregon. I was raised by a logger. When I was 14, 15, 16 years old, when there was a forest fire, I was on a D8 cat cutting fire line. I've seen my share of them, and I have never seen a forest fire burn this way. It takes everything in their path. If it burns an animal, there's nothing left of that animal. It's ashes. I've never seen a forest fire melt cars the way this does. It doesn't happen. And like I said, we do have pictures, on in our war room yet we haven't posted. I'll have Chuck post them in our newsroom. If you don't mind doing that, Chuck, you can do that later, and we can, because we will cover part of this on our next show. But is everybody, is there anything else anybody needs to add to this broadcast tonight?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, now we have everybody lit up at one time.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I need to take off because I really am not feeling good right now. But
okay,
I want to thank you for allowing me to come on to the show tonight.
No problem, Tal. You're welcome anytime.
All righty.
Thanks for
God
the
bless
info.
you, man. Okay, War Dog.
Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, War Dog. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, all my y'all are confirming everything I've been saying.
You were muffled.
I said y'all are confirming all my suspicions that they're selling uranium, they're moving people off the land, they're using them lasers from those satellites and burning up. And notice it's Republican type neighborhoods that are getting hit. You know, the trees aren't even touched. This is all, they're doing this. It's all in, that's what Q's talking about. Plus, they're going to go to jail, but they're in on this.
Oh, we know this. Also, I want to thank Greg for being here, from also mainstreaming with us on his radio. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Tom?
You know, on the forest fires you were talking about, kind of funny how the mismanagement of the Forest Service and the BLM are leading to these big fires that's hitting our areas. We have a situation occurring up in the mountains here above where I live. The fire in 2007 that burnt the trees, instead of logging it, they just let the trees fall. Now they're taking the grays from the ranchers and knocking the ranchers down. We should have 100% of the grays. in our title holdings on that allotment, they have 100% of the grade. The Forest Service and BLM is knocking it down to they own 95%, we only own 5%. Under Supreme Court decision in 1911, we own 100%. But there's even this buildup of fuel. They'll carry a fuel load, will carry a fire, which eventually will burn out burns. Burns is in the pathway of the fire as it travels. And it's just a matter of time, and we're going to have a time bomb, an ecological time bomb that's going to destroy all the precious sage grouse and all these animals they're trying to save all the time. And it's all worked up, the U.S. Forest Service, U.S. BLM, the eco-terrorists, and that, like ONDA, Sierra Club, biodiversity, and all these idiots. And it's just a matter of time, we're going to have a fire and a half, and it's going to be a sad state of affairs when the state of Oregon will be blocked by mismanagement and UN policies.
You know, and I'm going to bring something up on that. I agree with you. Now, I was raised on the Oregon-California state line, literally at the Siskiyou Summit. I was there. They took part of our ranch when I-5 went through, when they changed from Highway 99 to I-5 back in the 60s. And that Bear Canyon, the whole area, we could look from our home, we could look down through California all the way down, see Mount Shasta, all of that. Well, it kind of hit home. Patriot Calgary let me know that the ranch I grew up in is gone. All the land, the town that we logged out of, Hilt, down Taylor Creek area, that whole area is gone. And it's all because of mismanagement. When they stopped the American people from going into, or I should say the loggers and the locals from going in and getting their firewood and stuff where they were keeping them out, everything clean, that's what started it, and they all had the agenda. The future of what they're doing now, I believe they are starting their own fires.
Yep. Yep, I agree 100%. Well, I let you go. You can call me this minute, so I don't have to be on conference calls next time.
Okay, well, we're going to try to get you hooked up before we get done with this, okay?
Okay.
So you can stay in the room.
That's great. Well, you have a good night, and we'll talk at you later.
Okay, God bless you, Tom. I'll talk to you later.
God bless you all. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, does anybody else have anything they want to say? That's how they get them out of their homes. All of our listeners, if you like our show, we'll be on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 o'clock Mountain Time. We cover every situation there is from cues. We didn't do any tonight, but we will on our next show, which will be Friday, day after tomorrow. We will cover the cues that we have in and the new ones, and we will cover some of the headlines of what is going on the pedophilia, and hopefully we'll have some good news on other things for you too. If you would share and hit that share button as much as you can. We need to get the word out to every patriot, every American we can, of the truth of the news of what is going on. Let's get together, see if we can't do something to help these men that are in prison. I'm sure that we can get our gentleman to get the president to look into this and see what we can't do about getting them released from prison. This is it's staggering of what they're getting away with. And as Americans, we can't lose ground. We can't let them do this. We have constitutional rights. We are the people. We are the government, not that handful of Democrats sitting in Washington, D.C. that have been there for 30 years.
Johnny, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing Tal to reiterate on what's going on with our political prisoners. He had a lot of good information, and it breaks my heart for them to be sitting in prison. They don't deserve to be. And I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for allowing him to speak on your show.
He is welcome anytime. It's something that the people needed to know. And you too, Patriot Cowgirl. I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank Chuck. I want to thank everybody who was here tonight. Because you know what? We reached a lot of people in America. And like I said, Greg Clark, I want to thank you again. I know your screaming is from your side. And if, you're welcome to join us on every show, Patriot Cowgirl. And I believe that we're making headway. We're getting the word out to the American people, and that's what we have to do.
I'm here. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, I am here. I got lots of time on my hands. I've got your back. I'm here on every show.
I appreciate you, young lady. And Chuck, is there anything you want to add?
Well, I just want to add that, of course, some of our regular listeners may have noticed that I wasn't on the show tonight. I have a great deal of trouble with back and neck problems and arthritis and what have you, and I wasn't plumb up to snuff. And of course, we had to go out for a little while today. It's the only time I'm going to get out during the week because we're out of the car at the moment. However, just to let you know, next show is our next show, I guess, is probably Friday, and I will be back, and we will be covering the Qs again, and there'll probably be a pretty good number of them by the time Friday rolls around. But we'll get y'all caught up on the Qs and whatever else we come up with by that time. So thank you for being with us. And as always, God bless America, and we'll see you again Friday.
And this is the end for tonight. God bless you. Tell you what, if you got somebody you love, give them a hug. Let them know you're there for them. Stand together. And thank God for all we've got. Good night, folks. Okay. I think it was a hell of a show tonight. What do you guys think?
Oh boy, howdy, was it ever. I tell you what, I'm more impressed with my friend Tal every day. That man is a bucket of information and he knows how to get it out. He rocks. I'm just so proud of him, and I'm so thankful for you guys. I really am, because I think this is our first step in getting those guys out of prison. They need to be free. They have families. They have children. They work. They contribute to society. They're good people, and it breaks my heart to have them sitting in there, and I cannot thank you guys enough. Well, they were at some were at the Bundy Ranch, some were at the Malheur Refuge. They call it an armed occupation. It was not an armed occupation. It was a protest. They were educating people on their land rights. The deal at the Bundy Ranch was their cattle were being confiscated by the government. They were being threatened by the government with weapons. So yeah, some people did come there with weapons. You bet they did, because that is their constitutional right to pack that weapon. They were afraid it was going to be a bloodbath. One guy went over to a Nevada state trooper, crawled on his hands and knees because he was afraid of the snipers, was begging the trooper to go tell those snipers to stand down. They beat the hell out of him, threw him in the squad car, and took him to jail, and he hasn't seen the light of day since. That's just one story. His name is Todd Engel. There's several. Tal named them all, and I do have them all of the names. I can shoot that over to the war room, all of their names and the prosecutors' names, the judges' names. One guy at the Malheur dug a little foxhole to save them all from being shot, a place to sit, because Lavoie had been killed, and they were scared. They were afraid that they were going to be murdered. He is sitting in prison for 1 year and a day. His name's Dwayne Emer. the protesters at the Bundy Ranch were tased. They had dogs sicked on them. They were thrown to the ground. They threw an old lady to the ground. They sicked their dogs on them. All in the name of saving the federal government. They wanted their land. They've ran every rancher around the Bundy Ranch off. The Bundy Ranch is the last ranch standing. If they get them gone, Harry Reid gets that land. The Malheur was over the Hammond family who own a ranch out there. They're one of the last ranches close to the Malheur. I think Tom could tell you what ranches are around there, and I do have literature on the ranches at the Malheur and how they got ran off. First, they cut the water supply off. That didn't run them off. They survived that. Then they flooded them out. So the ranchers said, okay, well, here, we'll sell our ranch now. Pennies on the dollar. They basically were stolen from them. There's uranium. The yellow cake uranium are the minerals out there at the Malheur. So get the Hammonds off of their ranch. And it was in writing that they have to pay a $400,000 fine or turn their ranch over to the Bureau of Land Management. That says volumes right there. We did. It was a victory. The Hammonds were pardoned. They're out working their ranch now. But we still, and I have a whole list of names. I can't name them off the top of my head. But there's, I think Tal said 41 of them still sitting in prison for doing absolutely nothing. And they didn't get a fair trial. A lot of them wanted a jury trial. They were told no, they couldn't have a jury trial. Some of them wanted to represent themselves. They told them, no, you're not representing yourself. They were told the Constitution has no place in this courtroom. You put that Constitution away. You cannot read it. When I was at the trial, the first trial that the Bundys themselves were in, we would try to pack our Constitutions into that courthouse. They would take them away from us.
Yeah, get this message to the president as quick as you can. Okay, I'll tell her how to do it. Okay, hey, Patriot Cowgirl, go over where you see Gamer Pete 47, click on it. It'll give you a private line to type to him. On the right-hand side. Did you find it?
Nope, I didn't find it, but I bet I can figure it out.
Okay, where it says Gamer-Pete 47 on the right-hand side.
Yep.
Click on his name.
Okay, I figured it out. I will go into my messenger, copy and paste that, and I'll get it right over there right now. Hold on.
Out of you, thank you. What do you think of the show tonight, Chuck?
Well, I think you guys did pretty good without me.
Don't get no ideas. It ain't happening.
Oh, I didn't get no ideas.
Well, I ain't gonna let you either. Hey, Pete, you didn't, did you post our last show? Okay, because I haven't been able to get on. Make sure that you get this one. Go and check how many people we have tonight. We're up to 1,500 on one of our shows, Chuck.
John, he looks like I'm on our live feed on Facebook on YouTube right now. It looks like it's still live. I can still see the radio room on there. I don't think he shut it off.
Pete. Why is it showing it's still running live?
Pete, you haven't shut it off. We're still live. I'm there too, and I can see it. We're live.